Hey loved ones, I'm Keyosha. It's pronounced Keyosha, meaning key of the ocean. I'm a life coach and a motivational speaker, known for my company Key Coaching, which focuses on self-betterment. In this podcast, I'm going to share with you what I've learned from being a coach. I'll provide you the keys not just to survive, but to thrive. Hey, welcome back to Wisdom Wednesdays. Today we're going to be talking about compassion and a couple of other things that tie into it. But most importantly, I feel that I need to define compassion. And so we understand compassion as empathy towards the suffering or misfortunes of others. And whenever we're not compassionate, we are basically considered insensitive. And so we've been trained to try to be as compassionate as possible, considerate and kind to the people around us in a lot of different settings. And obviously the most common setting is like the social settings. Every time that we're talking to somebody, every time that we're interacting with someone, we want to make sure that we're like choosing our words wisely. But unfortunately, with such a heavy weight on how considerate you can be, you end up, I guess, potentially like beating yourself up after these scenarios. I know I'm not the only person who's had moments play over in my head, and I'm like, I wish I didn't say that. I wish I didn't do that. Why did I put my phone in that pocket? Countless things. And what is the most pivotal thing that we don't actually realize is in those moments when we're playing things over and over again in our head, beating ourselves up, we're actually being insensitive still, but this time to ourselves. And so you'll notice in the definition of compassion, empathy towards the suffering or misfortune of others, that the last word is others. And what often slips our mind is self-compassion. Actually using that careful kindness and consideration towards ourselves as well. Playing moments over and over again in your head, beating yourself up, it's hard because you actually are pretty much making it worse for yourself. Like, so what if you miss the gym one day? Like, what's the big idea? You know that if you're going to the gym and you've done it on a regular basis, or you know that if you've got a meal plan and you've stuck to it and you've honored that consistency is what's most important. But when you're thinking that way, you actually are, obviously, it's a bad thing that you've missed the gym. But calling yourself a lazy lump isn't going to make it any better. Being consistently compassionate is the difference between doing something on habit and actually making something a part of your character. And so if you're going to be consistently compassionate, you need to be compassionate to yourself as well, no? The other topic that I want to make sure to define as well is control. The biggest reason why we don't feel like we can be compassionate to ourselves in those completely human moments that we've spoken about something that we didn't want to talk about, or we've done something that we didn't want to do, didn't do something we said we were going to do, is because of the lack of control that we felt in that moment. And it feels like we didn't control that scenario well enough. And when you think of the idea of control, it's like you want to control that outcome or the behavior of others. But I mean, we can't be in control of every moment of our lives, especially because in each moment, we're making the best decision with the tools that we have. And so if I was going to nitpick and criticize everything that I've done, in hindsight, I wouldn't be in the present moment. You know, essentially, like my head wouldn't be facing the right direction, so to say. So the answer for trying to gain more control, believe it or not, is to submit, and submit to the understanding that you don't have control over every waking moment, as well as every sleeping moment. You know, you don't have control over what you said in the past tense. You don't have control over going back in time and making sure that you ate a different meal than that unhealthy cheat day one. And that's something to definitely hold on to. I feel like I should have mentioned that you should grab a pen and paper, because this is going to be something that I know people may not have resonate with them right away and they have to reference. But definitely in respect to trying to gain control, actually admitting that you are human and you don't have control over everything is really the only answer, because that within in itself is control. You're taking back your power. You're controlling what you can actually control, yourself. And what's better than that, right? But another thing that I know I've been called crazy for before, and people have called other people crazy. I mean, it's just a thing. People throw it around, right? Is communication. Communication is quite literally and simply the exchange of information, whether or not it be speaking or in writing. And that communication, whatever you've done, you've said something wrong, or your body language, your actions have portrayed incorrect information despite your intentions. That aspect of communication, believe it or not, should also be taking place with yourself. We're encouraged to not speak to ourselves, but if we want a clear view of what it looks like when we're communicating with others, the best thing to do is to communicate with yourself, and do it in front of a mirror or in a casual setting, or whenever you're trying to think something through, make a tough decision, process, metabolize. Have that conversation with yourself and communicate with yourself. Make sure that there's information being exchanged from what took place in your reality or your perception, and what took place in how you've processed it from there. I mean, we are always reflecting on ourselves. We wake up, obviously the first thing you do is go pee, but after that, you're looking in the mirror, you're washing up, you're brushing your teeth, you hop in the shower, you make sure your clothes look good, you make sure you got a good smile on. If we're willing to reflect on the physical aspect of ourselves, then why wouldn't we reflect on our thoughts? Why wouldn't we convey that information by speaking to ourselves and writing to ourselves? Because the physical vessel that you're in isn't as cut and dry as it is. We have a psyche, we have emotions, we have thoughts. They're not something that you can reach out and really touch unless you write them. Other people can't be aware of them unless you speak them or communicate them. And, if you missed my last episode, I mentioned that we have more eyes than we think, right? We automatically assume that we only have two eyes, but there's a third eye. And that third eye isn't just receiving the informational portion of the interaction. That third eye is picking up on energy. It's picking up on tone, body language. It's coming up with its own thoughts and processes and perceptions. So you're doing yourself a disservice when you're not reflecting on your thoughts and realizing that your third eye has to also be able to see and receive information. But in all of those things, you have to be compassionate. If you're evaluating your thoughts and you're like, why did I think that I should kill that driver that was driving slow in front of me? It's not necessary. Then I have to also be compassionate and be like, you're not going to really kill anyone. Right? You're just upset. And being compassionate with the way that you think, being compassionate with the way that you speak, communicating that with yourself, getting to know you. If you can't enjoy your own company, how are other people going to? Submit to the idea that you don't always have control. And actually communicating with yourself, literally in a mirror. The first thing that I would recommend starting with is actually looking yourself in the eyes and placing your hand on your heart when you're speaking to yourself and saying, I love you. I'm so happy you're here. I know that it's been a long road, but look how far you've come. Try it, I dare you. Some of us didn't have that kind of a childhood where when you walk into a room, your parents are like, Timothy, really happy to see you. Oprah's spoken on it. So actually saying to yourself, I love you and I'm so happy to see you. Look how far you've come is going to elevate your vibrations. It's going to open up your third eye to your true you, your true authentic self. And it's going to allow you to be more compassionate, allow you to submit control to the idea that you don't have control. And then you'll be able to take up space. Because with compassion, control, and communication, you gain confidence in who you are, unapologetically you. That is ideal. If you found this useful, like, subscribe, and comment. Follow on any other platform at Keyosha 333. And for more info, click below. Song suggestion of the week is Bag Lady by Erykah Badu. Bye. See you next time.